When I bought the house on Willow Creek Lane, I thought I was buying peace. After years of long court hours and city noise, the sound of sprinklers and chirping birds felt like therapy. The garage was my favorite part, spotless, newly painted, and with a dedicated EV outlet I'd install myself. My Tesla had its own home, and for once, life felt organized. The neighborhood looked picture-perfect, manicured lawns, pastel mailboxes, and the kind of people who waved while secretly judging the length of your grass. At the center of it all was Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA. She greeted me on move-in day with a brochure of community standards and a smile so tight it could cut glass. She noticed my wall charger immediately. "Oh, you've got one of those fancy Tesla things," she said, eyeing it like a hungry cat. "I've been meaning to get one too. Maybe we can share?" I laughed politely, assuming she was joking. But as her gaze lingered on the outlet, I felt something shift, the kind of neighborly interest that doesn't end at curiosity. I should have known then, peace doesn't last long in neighborhoods run by people like her. It started small, a missing cap from my charger port, a faint scuff mark near the garage outlet. I brushed it off. Then, one crisp Saturday morning, I walked outside to find Karen's red Tesla plugged into my outlet, humming like it owned the current. Karen stood nearby, sipping coffee, casual as if she'd borrowed a cup of sugar. "Oh, I hope you don't mind," she chirped. "I just needed a quick top-up. It's for the environment, you know." I blinked. "That's my power, Karen." She smiled wider. "Well, we're all neighbors here. I figured you wouldn't mind helping out." I told her firmly not to do it again. She rolled her eyes and muttered something about selfish people ruining the planet. That evening, I checked my smart meter. Power usage had spiked, $20 worth of electricity in one night. I took a photo, time-stamped it, and saved it. That was the first theft, the first red flag. The next morning, she did it again. And as I watched her walk away from my garage like she owned it, I realized something important. Karen wasn't just entitled, she was fearless. And fearless people always underestimate quiet ones. Within a week, my mailbox overflowed with HOA reminders. My trash bins weren't at the curb correctly. My lawn was half an inch over regulation height. My driveway lighting was too bright. Every notice came signed by Karen Whitmore, HOA secretary. It was clear I was being marked. I kept calm, documenting every petty rule she weaponized. But Karen didn't stop. When I unplugged her Tesla one night, she knocked on my door at 11 p.m., ranting about how I didn't care about sustainability. The next morning, someone had chalked "Energy Hog" on my driveway. Even my daughter noticed. "Dad, why does that lady hate us?" she asked quietly over breakfast. I looked out the window. Karen was standing by her mailbox, phone in hand, pretending not to film our house. That was the moment I stopped reacting emotionally. If she wanted to fight, she'd get one, but on my terms. Because there's one thing people like Karen never expect: when the quiet neighbor happens to know the law better than they do. And I wasn't about to let an entitled Tesla thief run my house on my power. I'm an electrical engineer by trade, which means I know how to read a power graph the way most people read gossip. I installed a smart meter that tracked every surge, time-stamped every use, and sent alerts to my phone. 3 nights later, the data spoke for itself. Power spikes between 1 o'clock and 3 a.m. every other night. Karen was sneaking over while we slept. I talked to my friend Leo, a licensed electrician. Install a lockbox, record everything. And if she tampers with it, that's felony theft. Or, I said, we teach her why stealing current isn't safe. Together, we rigged a surge protection relay. Perfectly legal, fully compliant, but unforgiving to anyone who ignored the warning sticker I posted above it. Private charger. Unauthorized use may cause damage. Meanwhile, I called my lawyer friend. He confirmed everything. Photos, timestamps, logs, all admissible evidence. For the next 2 nights, I waited. Each time, I saw that red Tesla ease into my driveway like a thief returning to her favorite store. Every time she stole a kilowatt, my system recorded it. Perfectly, silently, legally. She thought she was draining my power. She didn't know I was charging a case. The night it happened, the air felt electric, literally. At 2:12 a.m., my phone buzzed with the familiar alert. Power draw detected. I I slipped on my slippers and watched through the side window as Karen crept toward my garage, plugging in her cable with the stealth of a cartoon burglar. The charger clicked, hummed, and then popped. A tiny spark flashed near the outlet, followed by Karen's startled yelp. She jumped back, shaking her hand, staring at the flickering light on her Tesla's charge port. From my security feed, I saw the message appear on her touchscreen. Charging error. Battery fault detected. She scrambled back in her car and drove off, leaving the cable hanging like a confession. I checked the footage. Clear, timestamp perfect. My surge relay had tripped exactly as designed, protecting my system, frying her onboard charger, and proving she'd tampered with my private property. I went back to bed smiling. The next morning, HOA chat groups were on fire. Karen's Tesla was dead, and the neighborhood queen suddenly wanted sympathy. I had something better waiting for her, evidence. By noon, she was back, red-faced, screaming on my porch, waving her phone. "You'll pay for this. You sabotaged me." I calmly opened my laptop. "You mean when you stole my power?" "Multiple times." I turned the screen toward her. Footage of her sneaking in, meter logs, timestamp photos, everything. Her voice faltered. Within hours, I forwarded it all to the HOA board, the power company, and my attorney. The HOA emergency meeting that followed was chaos. Karen tried to spin it, claimed we had a shared power agreement, and that I'd given verbal permission. But the footage crushed her story. The HOA president nearly choked reading the report. Karen had violated 3 community rules, 2 local ordinances, and state energy theft laws. Turns out, she'd also been reimbursing herself from HOA funds under community energy testing. Thousands of dollars. The board voted her out unanimously. The utility company billed her for 6 months of unauthorized usage. And her Tesla warranty? Voided due to unauthorized external charge surge. The queen of the cul-de-sac was dethroned, and all it took was her own arrogance. Funny thing about power, people like her always think they have it, until you flip the right switch. Weeks later, the neighborhood was quieter. My driveway stayed clear, my mailbox empty, and the HOA finally learned what real accountability looked like. Karen moved out quietly after paying restitution and losing her board position. The new president, Leo, my electrician friend, installed neighborhood cameras and updated the bylaws. The irony? My energy bills dropped, and my outlet stayed locked, labeled clearly, private property, access by permission only. Sometimes justice doesn't come from shouting or fighting. It comes from staying calm, documenting everything, and letting karma trip its own breaker. Karen thought she could drain my power and get away with it. But in the end, the only thing she managed to fry was her own battery and her reputation.